The night outside the barn had settled into that unsettling, breath-held stillness that only rolls across the plains when something is about to go wrong. No wind, no coyotes, no distant hoofbeats, just the hollow quiet of a town asleep, and the low hum rising from beneath the barn floor, like the pulse of something ancient waking from a long, patient slumber. Cole Maddox tightened his grip around Ilara's arm as the boards under her trembled. She looked pale in the lantern light, her breath sharp and uneven, as if the very air pressing in on her chest was thicker than before. The horses in the surrounding stalls backed away, nostrils flaring, hooves scraping the dirt. They sensed danger quicker than any human could. The entire barn had turned skittish, restless. "What's happening to the floor?" Lara whispered, her voice raw with fear. Cole didn't answer right away. He didn't have an answer. All he knew was that this didn't belong on a ranch, didn't belong in any man-made building he'd ever stepped into. It felt wrong, old, like the stories the tribal elders used to tell around fires about the ground, remembering things people tried to bury. "Hold on to me," he said gruffly, pushing calm into his voice, even though his heartbeat was thundering painfully in his chest. "Don't shift your weight. Whatever's underneath us is moving, and I don't want you fouling through." Ilara nodded shakily, one hand digging into the sleeve of his shirt, the other pressing against her thigh as if to hold herself together. "I couldn't close my legs," she said again, softer now, as if realizing the strangeness of it in hindsight. It felt like something kept them apart. It's like it was pushing up. "I know," Cole muttered. "I felt it when I reached down." He had replayed that moment in his head a dozen times already. The warm, pulsing surface, smooth as bone, stiff as stone, and humming like a buried engine. It had felt alive, or at least not entirely dead. He tried not to think about the slight movement he'd felt under his palm, like it reacted to being touched. Cole swallowed hard. "We're going to step back. Slow. Don't rush." Could guide her. The floorboards rumbled again, this time with enough force to rattle the lantern's glass and send a deep vibration through their boots. The horses reared, snorting in terror. One kicked the stall door so hard it echoed like a gunshot. Ilara flinched and clutched him tighter. "Cole, I'm right here," he said. The barn floor, old and weather-worn from decades of neglect, began to shift in a way which should never move, lifting, separating, as if something beneath it was expanding, pushing against it with a precise, inevitable force. The cracks widened, dust spiraling up into the lantern glow and then snapping sharply. Board split clean down the center. Ilara cried out as her legs jerked apart slightly more. Cole reacted instantly, yanking her away from the widening crack and pulling her against his chest. Her heart pounded against him, fast and terrified. "Stay behind me," he breathed. He didn't know why he said it. Instinct, maybe. A rancher's duty to protect the weak, the frightened, the ones looking to him for help, as he set her. Behind him, he knew deep down that whatever was coming through that floor wasn't something a man could protect anyone from with his bare hands. Another board splintered upward, then another, a tight, mechanical clicking rose beneath them, deliberate, rhythmic, like gears aligning. Emotions waged war in Cole's gut, confusion, fear, disbelief. Machines belonged in city factories, not buried under a barn floor in the middle of the open plains, unless someone had put it there. Unless someone had wanted it hidden. His mind flashed to his Vada, nearly 10 years stern, rugged, mistrusting of everyone, man of secrets if there ever was one. But even he, Cole thought, wouldn't bury something like this beneath the old barn. Would he, Cole? "Look," Ilara said, voice trembling. From between the ruptured boards, a thin, blinding line of pale blue light seeped through, sharp as moonlight on water. It pulsed once, twice, then grew brighter, illuminating the dust drifting above it. Cole backed up another step, shielding Ilara with one arm. "Whatever you do, don't touch it." "I wasn't planning to," she whispered. The light brightened, casting long, ghostly shadows across the barn walls. It wasn't firelight. It wasn't lantern glow. It wasn't any light Cole had ever seen in his life. Then, with a sudden metallic groan, a hatch beneath the floor slid open. Not wood, not earth. At a hidden door, Cold air spilled upward, icy enough to sting his skin. The smell that followed wasn't natural soil, nor damp rot, but something cleaner, unfamiliar, almost metallic. Cole's eyes narrowed. What the hell? From the opening rose a shape slowly, steadily, as if it had been waiting for permission to surface. Ilara let out a quiet gasp and reached for his coat again. Cole didn't push her hand away. Truth be told, he needed the connection as much as she did. The thing emerging was the size of a barrel, smooth, curved, carved with faint symbols he didn't recognize. The pale blue light radiated from within the grooves, pulsing like a heartbeat. "It's not alive," he murmured to himself. "Can't be alive." But the thing moved, climbing higher, until it stood level with the barn's floor. Structure, metallic but strangely organic, like something forged with a logic outside of human understanding. Ilara's voice cracked. "Cole, what is that?" "I don't know," he whispered back. "But it ain't anything natural." He moved closer, just enough to shield her fully behind him. His hand instinctively drifted toward the revolver at his hip. It wasn't much protection, but it made him feel slightly less helpless. The object stopped rising. The hum quieted. For a moment, the barn was still. Then a thin seam along the object's curved side began to glow brighter. Slowly, nearly silently, it unlatched, opening like a blossoming flower. Inside, nestled within its center, was an object wrapped in cloth faded. Weather-beaten, but unmistakably placed there with purpose. Cole frowned. Eller, breathless, whispered, "It's a bundle." He edged closer, raising the lantern toward it. The cloth looked hand-woven, old, its threads frayed with age. Strange symbols marked its surface, similar to the ones carved into the metallic shell. Ilara tugged lightly on his shirt. "Cole, be careful." "Don't worry," he murmured. The worry was the only thing filling his gut. "I ain't touching anything yet." The lantern light glowed across the cloth, and for the briefest second, Cole thought he saw it move not from the breeze, not from settling, but like something inside it shifted. Ilara inhaled sharply. "Did you see that?" "I did," he said quietly. He placed the lantern down beside him, hand steady despite the tremor in his pulse. The hum inside the metallic capsule quieted further, almost expectant, like it was waiting for him. Cole forced himself to breathe. "All right," he muttered. "Let's see what you've been hiding." He reached forward and lifted the cloth. Beneath it was a small, circular stone, no bigger than the palm of his hand, carved with matching symbols. Its surface warmed, like something heated but like a beating heart. The moment Cole touched it, the blue light within the shell flared so bright, he had to shut his eyes. Laura screamed and stepped back. The barn shook. Horses kicked at their stalls. Laura strained from the rafters. Cole held tight to the stone, gritting. His teeth as a sharp current shot through his arm, not painful, not burning. More like a sudden rush of knowledge that wasn't his, forcing itself into the edges of his mind. Then just as quickly as it began, it stopped. The barn fell silent. The light dimmed. Eller's voice trembled behind him. "Cole, what did it do to you?" He stared at the stone in his hand. Its glow now soft, contained. His palm still tingled. "I don't know," he said honestly. But as he stood there, lantern light flickering across his face, Cole Maddox felt something he had never felt in all his years on the plains. Something heavy, something ancient, something that wasn't his mind or his memories. He tucked the stone carefully into his coat pocket. Whatever this was, whatever his father or whoever else buried beneath the barn, their secret wasn't buried anymore. Ilara stepped closer, her voice hushed. "Cole, should we leave?" "Tell someone." He shook his head. "Not yet. This place. It woke up tonight, and I need to know why." The metallic shell below them gave a low, almost approving hum like a sleeping beast, recognizing its new keeper. Cole took a breath. "Stay behind me," said again, though his voice was quieter this time, because he knew now this wasn't just a discovery. It was the beginning of something far bigger, and something somewhere was listening.